folks. Welcome to the Radio Medipol and welcome our first episode of Golden Ratio. I'm your host, Doğan. You may know me from our another program, Gameplay, with Mohammed Edisar. But today, I'm here with another program, and basically in English. So this program will be about artistic history of art. So you may not be interested in art, but this program will help you to have some thoughts about art and perspective. So dear listeners, I would like you to be open-minded and see the art history in a wide way. In this episode, we will talk about an artist who is known as early Netherlandish painting and one of the most significant representatives of early Northern Renaissance art. Yes, we are going to talk about Jan van Eyck. My friend is going to show you one of his paintings, and we are thinking that it may be his auto portrait, but we are not sure about that. This is not it's not certain. Like some people thought that this may be his portrait, but we're not sure about that. So, according to survivor records, indicate that he was born around 3080 and 3090, most likely in Meuse-Limburg, which is located in present day in Belgium. So, little is known of Jan van Eyck's early life, and neither the date nor place of his birth is documented. So, the first current record of his life comes from the court of John of Bavaria at the age were between 4022 and 4024. However, to most scholars, his apparent age in the London probable self-portrait of, like we showed you guys just a minute ago, in 4033 suggested a date closer to 3080. Okay, so I would like to talk about a little bit of our artist's life. So he had a sister, Margareta, and at least two brothers, if you're thinking that, Hubert, with whom he probably started his tuition, and Lambert, both also painters, but the order of their births has not been adjusted. So another significant and younger painter who worked in southern France, Barthélemy van Eyck, is guessed to be a relation. It's not known where John was educated, but he had knowledge of Latin and used the Greek and Herb alphabets in his inscriptions. Like, we know that Jan van Eyck is known, his sign is with Latin words, so yeah. That he was declared in the classic. This level of education was rare among painters and would have made him more attractive to the cultivated Philip. Okay. Jan van Eyck died on 9 July 1941 in Bruges. He was buried in the graveyard of the Church of City Donation as a mark of respect. Philip made a one-off payment to Jan's widow Margaret to a value equal to the artist's annual salary. He left behind many unfinished works to be completed by his workshop journeyman. After his death, Lambert van Eyck ran the workshop, his brother, as Jan's reputation and steadily grew. Early in 1442, Lambert had the body exhumed and placed it inside City Donation's cathedral. In 1449, he was mentioned by the Italian humanist and antiquarian Chirico de Pizzicoli as a painter of note and ability, and was recorded by Bartolomeo Foisia in 1456. Those names are really hard to pronounce, so I'm sorry if I messed up. Okay, so I would like you to talk about one of his precious artworks, and this artwork is actually one of my favorites, so it will be really fun to describe the painting because it has a lot of symbols in it, and it's really meaningful actually. But it's the painting is the whole painting is still a mystery actually. So according to those pages and on the internet, they're all saying that it's an wedding portrait, but we are not sure about that. So here is our portrait. The name of the artwork is the Arnolfini portrait. You may know the portrait from the Arnolfini wedding or the Arnolfini wedding ceremony. We can all describe that to you. So I'm gonna talk about a little bit about the portrait, not the symbols, but the things he used while to present the artwork. The portrait is a 1435 oil painting on three vertical oak panel by the early Netherlandish painter Jan van Eyck. It forms a full-length double portrait believed to depict the Italian merchant Giovanni Niccolò Arnolfini and his wife, presumably in their residence at the Flemish city of Bruges. So we can see in the portrait that they are in their room. I would like you guys to open the portrait, please. The marriage portrait. Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Okay, okay. Thank you. So, in the portrait. No. Show the portrait. Show the portrait. Keep showing it. No, the portrait. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Things can happen, things can happen. I am the voice over here, so I'll describe this painting to you guys. As you can see, there's Arnolfini and his wife in the portrait. So, this is really combined, and keep showing the portrait, please. I'm begging you. Thank you so much. My listeners have to see that, okay? Thank you. Okay. So in the portrait, we can see that Arnolfini used the technique of applying several layers on thin transclitic glaze to create a painting with an intensity of both tone and color. The glowing colors also help to highlight the realism and the shadow and show the material wealth and opulence of Arnolfini's world. Van Eyck took advantage of the longer drying time of oil paint, compressed the temperature to blend colors by painting wet and wet to achieve subtle variations in light and shade to heighten the illusion of three-dimensional forms. So, wet and wet is an artistic technique in art. So, the basic thing is the canvas is wet and your brush is also wet. So it's actually wet on wet, and that's my basic. You may wanted to see another portrait on Van Eyck because he used that technique a lot to, yeah. The wet on wet, also known as alla prisma, was highly utilized by Renaissance painters, including John van Eyck. The medium of oil paint also permitted Van Eyck to capture surface appearance and disguise textures precisely. He also rendered the effects of both direct and diffuse light by showing the light from the window of the left reflected by various surfaces. It has been suggested that he used a magnificently glass in order to paint the minute details such as individual highlights on each of the amber beds hanging beside the mirror. So, as you can see on the, I think on the left, I think it's on your left, we all can see the light coming down, and the artist just painted really, really carefully and just well balanced. It just looks perfect. Okay, just take a look at the painting. It's perfect. Okay, so the illusionism, it's hard to pronounce. Okay, of the painting was remarkable for its time, in part of the rendering of detail, but particularly for the use of light to evoke space in an interior, for its usually convincing depiction of a room. Okay, so in the portrait, we can see that Arnolfini and his wife holding hands, and one of Arnolfini's hand is up, and this may seem like it's a wedding, and they are swearing to each other. Arnolfini is actually swearing and saying that, oh, that this is my wife. I do accept she's being my wife and everything. And with that thing, we can just say that they are married. They're in a marriage. But actually, according to some other historical words from internet and books, the portrait was when the portrait was making the John Van Eyck was making the portrait. They were already married. Like we can see, Arnolfini has a ring on his hand, but Our Lady does not. So it may be real confusing in the head, but some of the people think that they have been married before that, but some people do believe that they are marrying in the portrait. So when we look at the left window, we can see oranges. I would like you to show some oranges. I think there were oranges. Yeah, those. So in that time of the year, it was, I forgot the word. It was spring, I think. I think it was spring where the oranges came from. But when we look at the people, the Arnolfini and his wife, they are wearing winter clothes. It's complicated. The way that's why they are wearing winter clothes is they are showing that they have been from a wealthy family. They are wealthy. They are rich. They're showing off. They're saying that we are rich, and we can see that with the oranges. Oranges were really rare to found in that time in the country, but they do have oranges in their house, and this is represents of how rich they are. So yes, and when we see in the middle of the canvas, there's a mirror. So in the mirror, yep, that you guys see that. In the mirror, we can see their backs their backs drawn with a really detailed. So, yeah, that's a detail. So I would like you to show that. Okay, so so in the mirror, we can see that Jesus and they and the other people in it. I think there's a photo. I did save it there. May you guys can find. If it's not, then it's okay. But yeah, that's one. That one. Yeah, we can just see that the Jesus in the circle with circles. Yeah, and these are really detailed. Like my nail is bigger than those things. Like, can you believe that? I mean, like, okay, how it can be possible? Like, even in that year, like, okay. And in upper side of the mirror, we can see John Van Eyck's sign. Yeah, and in the sign, it's the when I can translate. It says John Van Eyck was here. So it's his sign. And we can see the date under it. Yeah. When we look up, we can see um, the candles. Candles. Yeah, that one. That one. Upper side of the Arnolfinis, there's a candle which is still on fire, but in the other side of his wife, there's a melted candle, and we can still see the smoke on it. So that means actually for some people, it means that the wife is dead. The wife is dead, and the Arnolfini is still alive for some people. But and the meaning of the portrait is that Arnolfini Arnolfini was in love with his wife and wanted to respect his loved one. So that's a really good point. And when we go down, there's a little dog in between Arnolfini and his wife. In that time of the year, dogs were used for respect and loyalty between partners. So that's why John Van Eyck used a dog figure, a dog symbol, in the portrait. So when we look to the whole artwork, we can see that our wife looks like she's pregnant, but she does not. She is holding his she's holding her, I'm sorry, she's holding her dress up so she can show off how perfect and her dress fabric is. So we can see the texture that John Van Eyck has been used. So it's really detailed, it's really showing off the Arnolfini's family's wealth and money and everything. And when we look right side of the portrait, the bed is full up with red fabric. That's also has a meaning. It means that they're rich. Like for the whole portrait, they are showing off their wealthness. They came from a wealthy family. They're rich. They know what to put, they know what to wear. In summertime, in the window, when we look out to the window, we can see that those little sorry we can see that the little flowers from the tree. That means they're on summer. And in summertime, why would a person wear winter clothes? They're showing off, like. And yep, I think the portrait was pretty much that. Yep. And in the middle of the portrait, oh, I forgot to mention that. In the middle of the portrait, Arnolfini is holding his wife's hand, but he's not squeezing it too hard. Like, he's trying to approach something. Like, he's trying to tell something. And he's saying that, I missed you or not. Because, as I said, some people believe that Arnolfina's wife dead, and the meaning about the portrait is that Arnolfini wanted to show his respect and love to his dearest wife. But for some others, it's a wedding portrait, so it's a really complicated thing. So when we look that part of the portrait, you can see that Arnolfini hands is up and trying to approach something, like he's trying to say, I missed you, I hope you're here, I hope you can hear me and everything. And it's really romantic, actually. So that's why I do love this portrait. That's why I do love this portrait. And the portrait is currently in London. Yeah, London National Gallery. If one day, if I go to London, please do not check, do not forget to check John 1A's portraits. Um, yeah, I think that was pretty much it. Um, okay, guys, that was a short episode. I'm terribly sorry, but the portrait in John 1A is, I think, enough for the first episode. And next week, we will talk about other artists and everything. And I hope you guys will have fun while listening it. That's me, Dilandon, your host. So I think see you next week.